We're Batman at 89. Hello and welcome to Batminute 89, the show where we cackle our way through Tim Burton's Batman 1 minute at a time. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
I am the other host, Niall McGowan.
And today we are joined by a very special guest, actress Lauren Ashley Carter, who you may know from Jug Face, The Woman, or The Mind's Eye. Hello, Lauren.
Hi, it's so nice to talk to you guys, finally.
But thanks very much for being here, Lauren, because you're bringing the closest we've been to actually having someone who's been in a Batman film on the podcast. Because
wait, have you guys done some kind of like Kevin Bacon thing with me in Batman movies?
Well, I think I'm close because I was in an episode of Hollyoaks with an actress called Jessica Fox, who was in The Muppets Christmas Carol with Michael Caine. So it's like, I'm almost there.
Oh.
But you were in Premium Rush with Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
Yes.
who was the Christopher Nolan version of Robin, essentially.
Yeah, I kicked your ass in that game, didn't I?
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
But so it's just like, oh, now we're getting closer. It's like, next step, Michael Keaton. He's just around the corner. So
I did tweet him.
I was just thinking about Michael Keaton the other day when I was reading, there was this GQ, I believe it was a GQ interview with Robert Pattinson. And, the interviewer, the way that he spoke about, or she, I think it was a woman, the way that she spoke about the interview, it was just, it's very funny the way that these high profile people go into these interviews and how they think about it. And, the interviewer maybe not realizing the amount of time and thought that this high profile person has been giving to this, thinking about this interview and what it means and what it's going to say about them. And I don't know if you guys read, I think it was also GQ, an article or an interview with Michael Keaton that was really insane about his requests for the interview.
No.
Oh, wow. It's really you have to read it. It's amazing. But he had this huge list of things that the interviewer needed all these movies of his that he wanted the interviewer to watch before he interviewed him. People that he wanted the interviewer to interview that he had worked with beforehand. What? And then things that they were going to do, where they were going to meet, and questions. I think they were like leading questions or something like that he wanted, or maybe talking points. So there was this huge list, and he goes on about him doing these interviews and talking to these people and saying it was for Michael and for this interview. And then when he goes to meet him, it's so well done. It's kind of funny and thoughtful that Michael Keaton did this to make this really interesting interview, but also, tons of work for this guy.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's crazy, but I love it at the same time.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. You guys have to read it. So then he goes out and meets him where he lives, which I think is Colorado. I believe he lives, I think Colorado. He lives out in the, really beautiful countryside. And, when he's talking about these people that he talked to, Michael Keaton, his response almost every time is, "Whoa, you talked to him? Wow, I haven't thought of that name in a really long time." Or he'd be like, "You watched that movie? I can't believe you watched that movie. Wow." Like every single one. And the interviewer's like, "What, did he not think I was going to do it? Is he pretending like he's surprised?" But it comes off as a very authentic interview. But it was really mind-blowing to me.
It's the enigma of Michael Keaton.
Yeah, that's a testament to how good an actor he is, though, if he can make that seem like an authentic interview after he's clearly just led this guy through the woods for like weeks. But
well, of course, he is our hero, so we look up to him.
Although after that, I am writing down revoke Michael Keaton invitation. So yeah, sorry, I'm ready to go now. So.
Yeah. All right.
Well, speaking of ready to go, we should get into the minute.
Let's
do it. The minute starts with what I can only describe as one of the weirdest attempts at a Joker laugh of all time, and it ends with Bruce seemingly thinking that Vicki is the Christ. That's the only way I can interpret the end of that.
I've got an interpretation of the ending.
Oh no, don't worry, I do as well. But yeah, as the minute starts, we resume Joker's little sort of soliloquy here. with "Wait till they get a load of me," which is a trailer line if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, it's totally you've come in, Lauren, on a proper classic line of the film as well. This is one of the perfectly described as a trailer line, but it's one of the ones you would have seen anywhere really. But
one of the things that I loved about it, though, is that it is a trailer line. However, the take that they chose because of the boop, 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 boop bit makes me feel like this was Jack had done this. He probably did it in a series. Like I can imagine Tim Burton's like, all right, let's just do a series of this line because, it is, such a trailer line and an iconic line. And I feel like this was one of the ones towards the very end when Jack's like, I don't know what else the f- you want me to do. And just does a poke, 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 poke. And then he's like, oh yes, that's the one when they played it back.
Yeah.
It just feels like that kind of, I've done everything for him. He still wants more. I feel like boop, boop, boop in my head. So I'm going to say boop, boop, boop out loud.
Well, it was probably nearing the end of the day for him because, as we've covered previously, he was very strict with his hours. He dictated when he worked. So maybe he only had like 5 minutes left and he's like, right, come on, let's just do this.
Yeah, it does. And his makeup's getting pretty cakey by that point. You can see they've reapplied. And as you reapply that clown makeup, it does tend to crack and break and cling to each other. And I would say based on what you've just told me and the consistency of the clown makeup, this is a fair statement.
I do think, though, I absolutely love the addition, though, of the, cause it goes from very sinister with his, when they get a load of me, which is we should probably, put a pin in that, people, because this is the beginning now of, from, we saw last minute when this is after he has his winged freak terrorizes, and then he's so he's already in competition with Batman in his own head now. Well, I'm going to beat this guy. But I just think
it's a freak off.
Yeah, but it's just the fact that he goes from so sinister and then to go into a little silly oop, oop. It's perfectly, it really sums up the character well to go from oh, that's really creepy, and then he just goes into a really silly little thing, and then he caps that with a really maniacal at the.
Well, I also think that when you look at it on paper, how much crazier is he than Batman? When he goes, wait till they get a load of me. What, a clown in a purple jacket? It's not. You're not that wild. Obviously we know he's a psychopath and his personality and everything, but just on headline news, I think that they're both a little wacky.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a contest. It's a contest between the two for who's the weirder.
We don't. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we see Bruce Wayne sleeping on his pull-up bar, hanging upside down like a bat. Also, isn't he wearing? I think he's wearing pants in that as well, which I thought was odd.
Yeah. I think they are just nice dress pants.
yeah. That was something that I. I would have preferred a little bit more Jean-Claude in that moment. A little bit more Tuchus.
Oh, Jean-Claude's all butt.
Yeah.
All butt all day.
But I think the whole title of the film essentially could be Bruce has got some issues. He's just let him work through. He knows what he's doing. But it's just the fact that because as you're saying, it's most likely that. The oop was an improv. That was just right to just mess about and set. But I always find that's because that really makes the Joker, though, the fact that he goes from sinister to really silly and then to maniacal. Mm-hmm. But because you get that in you see in other iterations of the Joker later on. Because I know when the Dark Knight came out and they showed you the script, and I remember before that film came out, they were all Chris Nolan in the early days was all this is a very serious, very grim version of the character, and he's not a laughing buffoon. And obviously, at some points, Heath Ledger was he's the Joker, though. I'm going to have to make him a bit more fun. And then, if you go through that script, there's bits some of the best lines aren't in it. The whole bit where he's, he comes into the mob meeting, and then Michael J. White's just oh, you think you can just steal from us and walk away? And he's just yeah. And that line's not in the script. That's obviously a Ledger ad lib. And it's well, that's the character, though. You need to go from oh, he's scary, but he's also kind of funny as well. And
yes, very spontaneous. I think, absolutely, which can go either way. Although now that you did mention a very serious, dark kind of clown character, I would love still to see Zach Galifianakis as Baskets as the Joker.
Oh.
I think that would be
Now that would be interesting.
a proper sad Joker.
Oh, and Niall, you said, of course, his laugh, you thought, it's quite silly. And it is. But I think, in a way, that makes it more sinister and creepy to me. Than just his cackle, That's really weird.
He does a lot of things. Like we'll obviously get to it in the rest of the film, but there's a lot of little Jack asides, like little things that he's obviously just gone, I'm just going to do this and just see what happens. It's
who's going to tell him no?
It's all it's making the fun of the character, because then I've always felt that that's the problem with the Jared Leto version, is that there's no fun. There's no fun to that Joker. It's just like it's him going like, I'm crazy, and it's just like, well, where's the funniness?
Right.
Where is the improv? It seems like you've.
Although I will say, if you've ever had to laugh, like when you're not supposed, when it's not really organic and you're bringing it is the most exhausting thing. It's so dizzying. Like, having to do ADR for films and breathing and doing laughter and swallowing, like doing like scared breathing or running or walking or whatever. God. And so I just when I watch Batman, and I think in all those plays, where Jack's just like like over and over and over, like I just think he might, like, his blood pressure must have been so fucking high all day long. Like, no, of course he made his own hours. He just he goes home at night and he's just like, cross-eyed, tunnel vision. He's just been breathing heavily all day. Like even the scene with the one that we all love.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Like that. When I think we've all probably done that at some point. Like, you're a little guest.
Oh, that brings to mind actually something, because what you're alluding to there is his impression of Jack Palance, who's yeah, but his whose body in this scene is still unaccounted for. We don't know where he put him, what he did with him.
Yeah, what's he done? He hasn't thrown him out the window or anything. The window's intact. That's what I imagined he would do.
Is he using him as like a hat rack or something? Like, you think there would be something added in? It's like, well, what's he done with Grissom's body? But there's one thing is, because I meant to bring this up ages ago, but it's appropriate now though, because Lauren, you're a horror movie actress, so this might interest you. Because I was looking for links between Jack Palance and Jack Nicholson, and one that really jumped out to me was that like you probably know that like Stephen King doesn't like the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining.
Of course, yeah. Of course.
And like one of his things was like, well, he has various reasons, but one of the things he brought up was that, well, you can tell that Jack Nicholson just hates his family from the get go. Like you're just waiting for him to go crazy because you know what's going to happen.
It's a fair point. Yeah, it's an interesting point. You can't argue with it too much.
Oh, it's totally true, because I love that book, and that book is very much more a journey of a man's complete falling apart. But
but we have to. Then it's really a Shelley Duvall thing. It's the casting of her. I read the book as well, and so the casting was a little off. Okay, I fucking love Kubrick's The Shining. So anyone that's listening, but as far as the book goes, that's one of the places where I'm like, yeah, she's a little different.
Yeah, I think that's another point that Stephen King himself has brought up. Has just been like, what the hell is this version of Wendy as well? Like this, how could anyone not? You kind of want him to. You think he?
I'm
no.
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, even from the beginning when she's talking to the shrink and she's like, "Oh, that's when he had an accident." Smoking her cigarette.
I love
it. We got the cold, dark heart of Lauren Ashley Carter here today.
It's all coming out on the air.
But my original point though was apparently Stephen King has said that if he was going to cast anyone as Jack Torrance, it would have been Jack Palance. And it's like, Jack Palance is he's easily as scary as Jack Nicholson. Are you crazy? Like, come on.
Yeah, surely you need like an everyman kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Whereas neither of them fill that role very well. Like
nowadays, like Ron Livingston or something.
Yeah. But yeah, just like Jack Palance is just like, he's terrifying as well. How is he any improvement over Jack Nicholson?
Yeah. He reminds me of the line in Fight Club when this looks like Meryl Streep's skeleton if you asked it to walk around being like extra nice to everybody. He's got that vibe.
Well, speaking of a scary vibe, I love the way Joker here holds that really sinister sort of pose for absolutely no reason at all. I don't know who he's doing that for. It's almost like a dramatic stage thing he's doing, like he thinks he's in a play. Because he just holds that grin staring into the camera. It's as if he knows the camera's there.
Well, this is the thing. Like I thought, like this might be the time to bring this up because we'll have to cover it eventually. But because this is an example you see of like he's not smiling, as himself, but he has got the permanent grin now. Yeah. So it's like, oh, this is the disfigurement. But this is actually one of the shots you can see, like, oh, it's an application to put on his face because it doesn't look as seamless. Yes. But I have got some technical details of how they achieved that. How they achieved that look. So the makeup artist on it was Nick Dudman, and apparently he sculpted 6 designs for Jack Nicholson. And then 2 of them were chosen by him and Tim Burton and sent to Jack. And then apparently Jack then had to approve the design that he wanted to go with.
Oh, let me guess. He didn't. He didn't approve.
No. Apparently he was. He says. Apparently the quote from Nick Dudman is that there was no reference apart from the comics, and the brief was clear that the makeup had to be achieved within 2 hours. So I think that was Jack's thing was like 2 hours. That's all I'm giving you. But then apparently.
Well, I think that's enough time for that smile.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, when you think about like Pinhead and the Cenobites from Hellraiser and like that, obviously those took like 8 hours because it's like a whole head. But if you're thinking just a mouth application, I think 2 hours is fair.
Yeah, and it's not particularly wild, is it? It's just sort of extending his sort of cheek area. I don't know what you call that scientifically. Someone write in and tell us.
But yeah, apparently it ended up taking 2 hours, and it was glued on with 355 silicone adhesive because Jack Nicholson was allergic to the spirit gum that they would have used.
Spirit gum. Oh yeah. Well. Yeah, I mean, spirit gum is fucking harsh. I think everyone has an allergy to spirit gum. Everyone's got an allergy to adhesive in general. Like, if it's on you for hours and hours, you're gonna get a fucking rash.
Well, have you had personal experience with the?
Oh yeah, so in conservatory we have to do applications on ourselves in makeup. So we had to do old face makeup and creature makeup and all that kind of stuff. And spirit gum is your go-to, the Ben Nye science kit. So yeah, but if you're putting it on you and depending on how long, it's a chemical, and then you've got, it's clogging your pores. It's stuck on your face. And if you're doing that for hours and hours, even mic tape that I get on me, I tell them to move it because if you're doing, 12-hour days, 6 out of 7 days a week for weeks on end, and they keep putting that tape in the same place, you're going to get a rash, you're going to get a burn. And if you keep having to put makeup on a place, so if it's on his face, right, you've got, not only do you have that spirit gum and the application, you have makeup that you're putting underneath that. Over top of that, underneath. Wow, I just made up a fucking nonsense word of over and under. So you're putting the makeup on that. Then when you take it off, there's another kind of a solution, right, that'll break down the spirit gum that you put on that. So then you're using that and you're slowly pulling as you're putting the solution on it to break down that spirit gum. But you're still going to have a little bit of ripping on the surface of the skin. So you're doing this every single day. You're going to have a fucking problem. I'm sure even the silicone stuff I've done the silicone recently on Imitation Girl. They put an application on my face. And I'm sure if I did that even still on days on end, you're still going to have a problem. But spirit gum is pretty harsh stuff. Yeah.
So we can cut him a bit of slack then. Jack's all right.
Yeah. If you're doing, exactly. If you have to have that on every fucking day, then that stuff that'll make you, and then you have to do press or something, or you're in if he's doing another film or whatever, like, and then we have to stick up for our faces a little bit.
I think like you have become like, because so many people will be like, oh, what an easy time Jack Nicholson would have had, just like, just comes in and just acts like Jack Nicholson and whatever. But like since you've been on, you've been like doing all that laughing must have absolutely destroyed him, and that makeup would have just been absolutely horrible to do, and here's exactly why. So you are now
and think about this too. Think about this. So he's also got the application, but then he is laughing, right? So then when your face is moving underneath that application, so I think this would have been so difficult for them to put it on that area of the face because he's probably moving it because they want to know what's your range of motion. And the more you move it, the more and your face does get naturally oily, and that's going to start moving things around a little bit underneath the gum. And I think that would have been a really difficult application. And it probably did affect the way that he laughs, because there are sometimes you see where he does limited movements. And it is just that application doing the smile for him. And the laugh is coming from kind of within instead of moving his face. And then other times he really does move his face quite a bit. So I think not only is he having to think about his character, his lines and the laughter, but also like, I hope my face doesn't crack. And then we have to do this application all over again.
Oh no! Imagine that, hours and hours again. Well, back at the minute here. Before the scene ends, I was quite enjoying the music here with the Joker, because it's like a spooky but kind of childlike little number, and it was basically the most Burton / Elfman thing I could ever have possibly imagined. It just sums them up in one little tune.
Just needs a bit more of a quarrel, like kind of thing going on in the background.
Wait, can you do that again?
Oh.
Niall doing weird tunes has become a bit of a hallmark here now, I think.
Like, asked to do impressions last episode, and now I'm getting asked to sing. It's like, oh, my career is going to burst forward from this podcast. And this guy, he's a triple threat. He can do everything.
Well, yeah, and the light, I love the lighting tone as well, and the shift between that scene and then the more naturalistic scene that we have right after with Kimmy B.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a that nice desk lamp lighting and the shadows on his face that look very like silly in a way. Yeah, like but very much like the comic book. It looks like a picture, brought to life out of a.
Apparently, he is very specifically based on the what's his name? The Dick Sprang Joker. And if you see pictures of that Joker, it's like, oh yeah, that's totally what they're going for right there. And so it actually is a very good, like, loyal to the comics look.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can see that, I think.
Uh-huh.
And we've spotted a few times throughout where it really looks like Tim Burton's based the shot on a comic book panel. And I think that's another one of him. That's probably why he's holding that pose I was mentioning, because it just really looks like he's drawn it out and gone, I just want that. Exactly that.
That portrait. Right, exactly.
But I'll think of it before we leap off into the next, like, the majority of the minute, because we've barely made a dent. But like, I wanted, because I remember this was a point of contention with one of our guests, Dale Kingsmill, and I meant to bring it up to Lexi in the last minute, or the minute before the last minute. Oh, yeah. But I thought I should ask you, Lauren, because I wanted to get this straight. Do you find Jack Nicholson attractive? Because I used to think that he was like, oh yeah, everyone loves Jack Nicholson, he's sexy. And then Dale Kingsmill was like, no, he's hideous. And I was like, what? What the hell are you talking about? So I'm asking you, as a young red-blooded woman, what do you find Jack Nicholson, not like now, but like back in like the Cuckoo's Nest era, like that kind of, would you think of him like, oh yeah, he's a sexy guy? Or are you just like, no, don't want to know about it?
So I would totally have banged Jack Nicholson. Yeah, definitely. Now, I was definitely way more into Steve Buscemi than Jack Nicholson.
Oh, that's a much better choice, yeah.
And isn't that funny that you said so as well? So there's something about, because Jack is I think he's handsome. I think he's very, American classic kind of looking. Obviously a terrific actor. But I think that he's a little too classic. He's not like pretty handsome, like, like James Dean or Paul Newman or something, but I always liked the more character, like a little bit different, a little bit, like so Steve Buscemi. Jeffrey Rush was another one I had a big crush on.
Okay.
When I saw Shine, I was like, and then Quills, and then Michael Shannon was probably like a more recent.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to meet him on Premium Rush so badly. I was like dying to meet him, and everybody knew, and I never met him. He didn't come to the wrap party, and he didn't go to the premiere because he was doing Boardwalk Empire.
I was thinking if you got him in, you could have got a segue into Boardwalk Empire. You would have been between him and Buscemi. You would have been like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Like boner sandwich. That didn't happen. So yeah.
Yeah, you'd be spoilt for choice there.
But yeah, I totally would have. Yeah, absolutely, Jack. But I don't get like the heart palpitations or anything like that. But I think as I was growing up, when I watched Jack Nicholson films, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory are my mother's two favorite films in the entire world. So we watched them often. And I love The Shining, and I watched that often as well, and Chinatown. And I wanted to be him. I wanted to be Jack Nicholson more than I wanted to have sex with him. So those are my feelings. But at the time, if I would have been in a film with him, like, yeah, I totally would have banged him.
As I'm sure many of his co-stars probably thought.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Notorious ladies' man.
But I suppose now we've got that matter settled. But I suppose we should leap forward into the from Jack's like the final maniacal into the next bit where we jump to Vicki Vale rustling Bruce Wayne from appears to be quite a deep sleep. So,
well, this answers something that we were talking about previously, because we assumed initially that Bruce was asleep when he was on the pull-up bars, but then we noticed as we were watching it that he actually wasn't asleep. He was sort of working out. So this goes to show you that this backs that up, because he's done that, and then he's gone for a quick kip on the sofa there. Mm-hmm. Why doesn't he just go back to bed, though?
I was thinking like, oh, maybe he's just been considerate and he doesn't want to, disturb her by getting back in the bed. But then he was very loudly creaking on that thing. So if he had any level of consideration, he would have been like, oh, the hell, he would have.
But do we ever see him sleeping in his bed in the film?
No, don't think.
Because I was of the opinion that he just like he doesn't use that huge dining room table ever, he also doesn't sleep in his bed. So I think that he eats in the kitchen like he did later with Kim after the past assault incident went horribly wrong.
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
Yeah, and then I think that he sleeps on the couch. I don't think that he actually sleeps in the bed.
Oh, it could be, but because he does seem to...
But then he's quite a fit guy, though. Obviously, he's got to be healthy in that. That can't be good for your back. Come on.
Well, I don't think he sleeps much, though, does he? I mean, he's got the vigilante stuff to do, and I think there are some people, they're rare, but there are some people who can actually operate on less than 5 hours of sleep. And I think if anyone is in that statistic, it would be the Batman.
Yeah. I'm a 6 hour guy. Well, I guess 6, I'm fine. Anything less or more, and I'm not happy.
Yeah, and he hasn't been with anyone also in a while, and so I think he sleeps on the couch, and I think he's one of those bachelors that he's just been single too long, and you can't change them. And, I dated a guy that was like this, and every Wednesday he had to go and get Mexican food from a Chinese takeout place, and go back home and watch How I Met Your Mother and look at Facebook. And this was his Wednesday, and I said, but we don't have to do that anymore. We can do other things now. And he's like, that's what I've been doing. He had just been by himself for so long that this was part of his routine, and in his mind was part of his happiness.
Oh, that's upsetting. I don't want to hear that. That's ruined my day.
To be fair though, because now we got Bruce Wayne. Yeah, he presumably hasn't been with anyone, at least in a relationship, for a long time.
Right.
And then between the signals you're getting between these two characters in this scene now intensely contrast, because we were joking about last minute, saying he's joking about he's just trying to get rid of her, but there's a lot of he is just trying to get rid of her. It seems like he's just whatever. Oh yeah, he's not used to her. Like the fact that she's there, it would be like usually I just have someone come in and then Alfred would get rid of them for me the next morning or something. But now he's been woken up by this woman, and you can see he's kind of taken aback. I'm like, what? She's still here? And everything about it then is she suggests coming over, and then she...
Oh, that whole conversation that makes zero sense. When she says, come over to my place for lunch, I'll show you photographs. He can't. She's like, okay, later. And then she goes, I have to go. I'm late for work. So, if you're a photographer, how are you going to leave and go all the way back to your apartment for lunch? What time is your work? What is your, what are your hours? And that you're like, I have to get to work now, but I can go home for lunch for fucking 3 hours.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine with her work, apparently. I suppose she could say it's a business meeting. She's got a client. She's got Bruce Wayne coming around.
But then also, why couldn't she just say, "Hey, let's play hooky today"? And unless it was kind of that. Well, you have a business meeting that you have to go. Cool, yeah, I have work too. I have to go right now.
Plus, she's a photographer that we've previously established doesn't seem to work for anyone in particular. She seems kind of freelance. Yeah. So she probably would make her own hours, I would assume, just because she just gave herself this job at the paper. Nobody employed her. She just turned up and said, I'm going to do this thing about Batman. Okay.
Right. And she always, it's funny, it's like every look that she gives, it looks like she was startled. like afterwards, every line beforehand. It's almost like, surprise, oh, words are coming out of my mouth. Oh, wow. Even in quiet moments, it's like, oh, wow, there's words. God, here they are.
I have to give a testament to Bruce as well for his quick thinking, because it's like, if I was in that situation, I'd just be awkward and be like, oh, okay. But he's just literally like, oh yeah, fine. Oh, wait a minute, no. I've got a meeting. I've got something very important I have to do. And then, but it all seems like, because there's this whole like, I need to go out of a very important meeting today. And then he goes on later on about like, I'm going to be out of town for a few days. And it's like, we find out later on, like his meeting is going to leave flowers at the site where his parents got shot. How long does that take? It seems more he's just like, I just don't want rid of her just for the day. I want rid of her altogether. Like I just want to.
Well, it's a great example of when people tell you when you're making up a lie to make it simple, because otherwise it sounds like a lie. And I think that this scene may be where that comes from. Like if he would have just said, I can't. Sorry, I can't. Period.
Well, Vicky's persistence confuses me because, let's get this straight, right? Bruce has a woman over to his house, sleeps next to her. It's debatable whether anything happened. We were arguing about this. But then in the morning, he's trying to brush her off completely. Like, he's not even disguising it, I don't think. Like, it's obvious. So to her, he either looks like he's just being a complete jerk and not interested in her.
Right.
Or what? He's playing hard to get? I'm not sure what her feelings are on this.
Yeah, I don't either, because the way that she looks back at him 3 times, I think, before she leaves. At least she does 2 double takes, I believe. It gives me the impression that something did happen. Yeah, I do think that something happened, but what was it? And now the fact that she's so happy and doesn't feel brushed off makes me think that it was cunnilingus. Specifically, that's what happened, because he's like, okay, well, maybe I'll see you later. And she's like, oh, I know he's going to call me because he didn't get all the goods.
That's a trick, is it? Yeah, keep him interested.
Something had to rejuvenate her, because considering when we last seen conscious Vicki, she was plastered, like she was completely drunk, and she is supernaturally perky. Like, unless she's still a little drunk, or maybe she's like, "Oh, we're gonna go get lunch." Basically means like I'm gonna go get like a martini and stuff, and like I'm gonna keep this buzz going. And he's like, "Come on, Bruce, you have to come." And he's like, "No, I need to. I'm planning to mope today, so sorry. Like I'm out."
Emo Bruce.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he definitely has manic depression for sure. Yeah, I would say Batman's definitely.
But I mean, you said you were impressed with his quick thinking, which, like, as someone who suffers from pretty bad anxiety problems, I admire that. I wish I could get out of situations. If somebody said to me, "Come for lunch," I would feel so awkward. I'd just be like, okay.
Yeah, well, me too, totally. I would have ended up going to that lunch date, and then she would have brought back, "Oh, I'm going to show you pictures of my apartment," and you have to stand and pretend that you're interested.
Oh no, you guys aren't Americans. We're not the most polite people.
Oh, I couldn't get out of that. Like people at work who go, "Oh, here's some pictures of my baby," and inside I'm thinking, I don't want to see your baby. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I can't say it. I have to just look at the pictures and go, "Oh, that's nice."
I'm considering like printing up cards for people who are like starting to show me anything, and just have it written out like, "I'm sorry, I'm sure what you're about to show me is very entertaining and good, but I am far too awkward for this to." The entire time you're going to just be showing it to me, I'm going to be thinking about how I'm going to react, and then trying to make that reaction seem genuine and stuff, instead of just being like, "Oh my god, I don't care about any of this." And like, I mean, I should care. This is terrible, but I mean, what am I going to say to them? "Oh my god, they're still in the middle of this." Oh well, and it just goes into blind panic. So yeah, Bruce is.
Thank God I'm not alone.
And what's funny about this scene is that when you guys sent it to me and I watched it, I just thought, yeah, like how awkward is this fucking scene, and how thirsty does she seem to be to see him again when he's acting like an asshole like this. But then the next time that they're together, what is that scene?
Next time they're together as Bruce and Vicki, I think it's the "Let's Get Nuts" scene. I think that's the next time they actually, but then he has seen her before that as Batman, but obviously she at that point she has no idea who it is, but
right.
But yeah, there's
I was thinking that dynamic completely changed. Like that's the only time that we see them in that little awkward place, which is kind of a testament to the film about creating that, beginning romance awkwardness, and then it's just like, okay, back to Batman, and then we never really their relationship is kind of plateaued.
It is kind of awkward, actually. And I've only noticed it in actually analyzing the film 1 minute at a time, where you notice that how like spread out things are. Because like the last time we saw Batman was like 10 minutes ago in Axis Chemicals. The next time we see him will be in the museum, which is like half an hour away. So it's like, holy crap, there's not actually much of Batman in this film. Like he disappears for huge
Well, I think
patches of time.
That's a good choice, though. You should use him sparingly, I think. A bit like I know it wasn't intentional, but a bit like the shark in Jaws, you know. That works because it's sparing. And I think Batman's the same kind of thing. I don't want Batman all over the place. You'd be bored.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they do the opposite, though, with the Joker, because, like, for the next bit, this is, like, the Joker film for, like, a good half hour, so...
Yeah.
But I think, you've got to build... Yeah, and you've got to build that terror with the Joker, and it's really it's so much about building up his personality and his storyline, and you know, Batman's just kind of like, if only you weren't here, I could just, you know, Vicki Vale, do some crunches on my pull-up bar, and he's just like, he's very patient. I think this Batman is very patient.
I'm wondering though now
with Joker's shenanigans,
if his dismissal of Vicki is like it's his realization of, because he's Batman and he's just like, well, I've got things to do. Is it more like, nah, I can't get into a relationship with this woman. I'm going to have to just get rid of her. Like is it?
I agree. I would agree with you, except for the Jesus Christ.
Oh, do you?
That's what really then is like, oh.
I interpreted it the exact opposite way of like, because she stops, it's like, there's a kiss and then she's going to leave. And then she comes back for another kiss. And then when she finally goes, and I interpret it as a bit more of like a, Jesus, this is like, my God, just get out of here already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Me too. And so what I thought, I would say like beforehand when he's like, oh, no, I've got this to do and that to do. He's thinking, yeah, I don't want her to get involved. You know, I can't have a relationship right now. And I would have just been like, I feel him in this awkwardness. He didn't mean to get so close to somebody. But then when he does a Jesus Christ, it's like, oh, you are kind of a
yeah, completely. Because what does he just want to sit around in his underwear for a bit before he goes out and does his Batmaning? I'm not really sure what his plan is here. He's a bit of a jackass, and surely she hears him say that, like, because it's not the quietest, is it?
Although that hair is pretty thick and dense, it probably blocks out a lot, I would say. And especially when she's flipping it over her shoulder every 5 seconds, it's got to make quite the whooshing.
It's an impressive mane. Like, it is really like, that's a lot of...
Yes, I am jealous. I'll be honest. I'm jealous.
We were big fans of the hair earlier on, weren't we? We loved that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. You guys asked me about Jack Nicholson, so I'm going to ask you a question. Kim Basinger or Kelly LeBrock?
Oh, okay. I've never considered.
It's very odd that you've just like these are. It's just because of the KB connection. This is like, these are the two. like that's.
Well, they were super hotties. They both had amazing manes of hair. So
I think I'd probably go with Kim. To be honest.
I think I'd go with Kim as well. More because I've seen her in more things. Like Kelly LeBrock is very much for me. Oh yeah, Weird Science. That's
yeah.
But with Kim, I can go from like, oh yeah, she's like Batman, and then up through like LA Confidential and things like that. It's like I've seen her in a variety of styles, and she's been great in all of these things. So it's like, well, yeah, Kim Basinger just is. I'm more familiar.
You're
with her.
thinking long term now. Yeah, you're thinking long term, and the long term.
Although the other person I assumed you would have gone for, considering. I'm sure you're aware of this, Lauren, because you worked with her twice, but Vicki Vale was originally Sean Young.
Yeah, so. I know all about that story. That is why Sean Young cannot horse ride to this day. She's not that she can't, but she refuses to. And
I don't blame her, to be honest.
Yeah, that was pretty traumatic for sure.
Oh yeah, it must have been such a physical blow, and then I guess it'd be a blow to the career because it's a high profile gig to be in Batman, really.
Yeah, but, of course. And the whole reason that she was on the horse was because of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd think that, because it's super shitty, man. You just think like what happened in our film, Imitation Girl, actually, that our lead actor was learning how to ride a motorcycle for the film. like he wanted to learn anyway, and it was, it would be perfect for the film. And in one of his classes, he broke both of his wrists.
Oh.
And he was in 2 casts for the entire shoot. So, but it was, our director wasn't going to be like, oh shit, well, you've got casts on, so I'm going to recast. But she didn't do that because it's irresponsible. You can't say, oh, okay, I had you do something and then it fucking injured you and now fuck you and here we're going to hire somebody else. And also I had an actor for my web series that I hired, and he had an accident at work and fell on a mirror. And it cut his face up really badly. And he was, he got surgery and he called and he said, this is what happened to me. I still really want to do it, but I'm scarred now. And I don't know and so the director called me, and it was also Natasha. And she said, I don't, this is what happened. It's your decision. You're the creator of the show. What you want to do. And I was like, no, we're using him. Of course we're using him.
Hell yeah, even more so.
Oh yeah. But he was really nervous at the time about what kind of work he was going to get. And I think he's probably been getting more work now. Because he's got this wicked scar. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like silver linings, all that kind of stuff, really.
Yeah, exactly. You have to. But yeah, so I thought it was pretty fucking shitty what happened to her, for sure.
Do you have like it'd be uncouth of us to ask for any like behind the scenes gossip?
Well,
was there any?
All I know about the story was that she fell off, she broke her leg, and they.
Oh, we had heard it was her shoulder. That's what we were told.
No, I think it was her leg. She may have had multiple injuries.
Well, I mean, we'll trust you on it because you know the woman herself. So yeah.
Plus, either way, she broke something. That's bad.
Right, and instead of saying, okay, well, let's hold on production, or try and make this work and put it, it was like, well, guess we have to recast. And it was really. She doesn't hold any anger about anything anymore at all. I mean, she's a chill lady. But there's sadness. I would say there's a lot of sadness about what happened, and she had a lot of little things happened. Big things too. But yeah, I mean, like when you think about Blade Runner and stuff like that, when she started, she was a kid. She was so fucking young, and she had to do her first love scene. She'd never, she's a pretty modest person, and there's people in the way that they used to direct back then too. They'd try to intimidate women and scare them because they thought that it would help their acting, and they would do it to each other too. I mean, you've heard about, I'm sure, the Marlon Brando sex story.
But like the Last Tango in Paris.
The Last Tango in Paris, yeah. That this girl was sexually assaulted in the film because they're like, oh, let's do this too. It'll get a really interesting reaction. And there were similar things done on Blade Runner with Sean, and she was very young because, instead of like let's find words that will help her, they had these quote unquote techniques that are very unethical to try and get reactions out of people. And I've always disagreed with that shit.
I do. Blade Runner always makes me think of my friend Steve one time, and when he first watched it like a couple of years back, I just remember getting a text message from him, and he was just like, "This kiss is a bit rapey." I was like, "Yeah, it's really messed up."
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in this movie, we've got a bit of a nicer kiss towards the end of the minute here, but I thought it seemed quite intimate for two people who've almost literally only just met. Like, it's a very romantic kiss. It's not lustful. I was quite confused by that. She seems to have fallen for him hard.
See, like I interpreted it like not so much. It was intimate in that she is 100% bought into this relationship now, and I still felt on his side it was a bit sort of like, oh, okay, like he's just sort of just sort of there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Which it's frustrating to watch because you're just like, Kim seems to have her blinders on from all these signs because the whole time she never falters in her bubbles. Her bubbles are full and unbursted. And she's just, she's like, oh, okay, well then maybe, okay, when you get back, okay, bye, bye. I'm like, are you not seeing what we're seeing here? This is like, he couldn't be giving you more signals. But then it makes so much sense when you think about real life. There's so many times where that happened to me where I'm like, can't they pick up what I'm laying down right now? And she just doesn't. She doesn't pick it up.
Do you think Bruce, because he looks bemused. Now, do you think he looks bemused by the kiss because maybe he doesn't get kissed a lot? Or he's bemused because she isn't picking up on these signals, and he's like, "What have I got to do?"
When I saw the movie, when I think about it as as the whole film, not broken down in the minute, that's why this really shocked me seeing it again. When I wrote back to you guys, I was like, "Oh wait, we have to talk about this minute," because I never realized this before. When it played as a full film to me before, I always thought it as that Jesus Christ, like, wow, that was crazy. That was insane. Yeah, like, I don't know what's happening. But now seeing it broken down in this little bit, it did seem like, what a fucking nutcase. Like, Jesus Christ, woman.
Yeah, what have I got into here?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, in terms of like the action of the scene or the action of the minutes, that's us, unfortunately, for that. But
I mean, the only thing I had was I looked up in the original draft. In the original draft of the scene, Vicki wakes up to the sound of Bruce singing in the shower, which I thought was very different for the character.
I completely forgot about this part.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what's he singing?
He's singing the song Honeysuckle Rose, and the script describes his voice as a soft, off-key baritone voice. I thought that's quite nice. But it's not, it's a very different character to what we're seeing.
Oh, yeah. And Honeysuckle Rose, of all songs, I think what Ella Fitzgerald sang that.
I was just laughing because I remember, like, if you read that entire original script, and I recommend, like, anyone does, because it's actually pretty good film in itself, but it's not this film. Like, it's this film for, like, the first half hour solidly, and then it goes off completely in different directions. But like that version of Batman in it is a lot cheesier, and he's a lot like him singing Honeysuckle Rose in the shower is not a surprise when like things he's doing later on are just like, like it's really like it's not quite Adam West, but it's borderline like this is not what they. I don't think this is what they were wanting originally. I can see why they redrafted quite drastically later on.
Yeah, well, it doesn't fit the Bruce that we've just been talking about. The way, of course, he's used to being up all night, being a vigilante. Maybe he sleeps in the day. Like when he wakes up here, he looks disturbed. He wants more rest because his rhythms have been thrown off. Whereas that Bruce is just all chipper, singing in the shower. Like,
yeah. As we know from that original script, like that version of Bruce is very much more the he is like the legitimate, like, oh, I'm out playboying as well. He has that part of him going, so like that could still be part of his performance. It's just like, well, in the shower, just like, oh, I'll be singing in the shower and just looking like a lackadaisical, got no cares in the world kind of billionaire. You know, it's just again, yeah, the exact opposite of like crashed on the couch. Oh, please get out of my house now. You know, Michael Keaton versions.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I like that. He's not a billionaire at heart, and he feels very uncomfortable with those things. And I think that that's something that we definitely get from him from the very beginning. And Vicki feels like, oh, he is kind of an everyday guy. Oh, I could get with this.
But do you have any more notes that you wanted to bring up, Lauren? Or
no, I think we got them all. I mean, if I go any deeper with this, then
you'll get sucked into our world, and you'll drive you insane.
But I do want to come on later for some things later on. I'd love to do that.
Oh yeah, more than welcome.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, definitely. Well, I've started noticing if I'm watching a movie, instead of saying to someone, "Oh, this is a really good scene coming up," I'll say, this is a great minute. Keep your eye out for this minute.
But I suppose we should ask as well, like Lauren, like, do you like what's your history with this film? Like, what did you like? Is this to you? Is this what Batman is, or are you more like, oh, I'm more of a Nolan person, or I'm more of a?
Okay, so yeah, Tim Burton's Batman is definitely what I grew up with. Batman and Batman Returns. I was huge fans, especially this Batman. Actually, I probably watched the most. I obviously love Batman Returns because of Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman and Penguin and Christopher Walken as well. I think it was my introduction to Christopher Walken as a kid.
Oh yeah, I think I'm fairly certain it was mine as well because.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
remember, of course, he's not all Walken glory in that. And then later, I think after that, I saw The Prophecy, and then you've got really, Walken glory. So it was definitely one of those, those interesting moments where in that film, everyone is such a star in Batman Returns. I mean, in Batman, it was more of, just the story really got me. the fact that Bruce's parents were killed, in that way, and the city and the pearls on the ground, and that really stuck with me big time. And the baby being left and all that, and then also in Batman Returns, the similarities between Penguin being left behind, and being an orphan, and also Bruce, and those between the two of them. And then also Selina being, left behind as well. There were all these people that were just so hurt and so tender and vulnerable that the way that they turned out and the way that they are drawn to one another, I really love how they play off of each other. And then as we go deeper into the franchises, a lot of that goes away. a lot of that similarity in that. So like something they say about war times when even in World War II, when they had their enemy, after a while, you see them as human. And you think this is, we're both fighting for our countries. We're both fighting for people that aren't even out here with us. And you're still hurting a person at the end of the day. And they saw more similarities between themselves and their enemy than differences. And I really love that about the first two films. I think there's such a presence of that rivalry, but also the joy. They don't immediately want to destroy one another. And then as we go on in the franchises, I think there's a lot less of that respect between the villains and our heroes.
Oh God, yeah, it goes completely by the fourth bloody one anyway. Yeah,
but
But
I mean, that sounds like if you want, because we'll be covering next year, we'll be covering Batman Returns. So if you want to come on and talk about that, I think you're saying if you want to come back for later in this film, we've still got a lot of the finale to book, so you're welcome to a minute there if you want as well.
We'll see how if people like my episode, I'll come back.
You're just gonna get a painful email. It's like, Lauren, it's not happening. the people have spoken. But I suppose because I know you give the opportunity now to plug some things coming up, because I know, and from talking about a killer clown, you were in a film featuring a killer clown.
Yes, I just shot a film called Gags with these terrific filmmakers out in Wisconsin, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and also a lot of actors out of Chicago. It was such a wonderful time. We had a great time. It's a found footage film, which when I first got the script and they told me in the email it was a found footage film, my initial gut reaction was absolutely not. But I always read things when people come to me with a nice pitch, and it was a nice pitch. So I started reading the script, and after I think maybe the fourth page, or maybe even before that, I thought, oh, okay, this is clever. They do it in a really interesting way, in the way that I believe that found footage should be going by now, where so every single storyline, and they're all are separate characters, and we're in like 2s, 3s, 4s, and each story has a different medium of filmmaking. And so when it's all put together, which I'm really excited to see it put together, because I only was in my story the whole time. And you don't really get to interact with the other stories, and as they're seeing the clown. You pass each other by. So there's all these moments, and that's kind of how you're bridged together, is that you will pass each other in driving or passing or in locations. But yeah, some things are on, ours is on a news camera. And then you've got some people, of course, with their phone. Then you have others with a camcorder. And they're all steady too. So they're not, I can't stand like the unsteady shaky cam. It makes me physically ill. So that's another thing that I really love about it. Like, everything's stabilized, for I would say 90% of the film. Okay. It's all stabilized.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's really, it's really fun. The costume is terrifying. I'm not, and I don't really, give a hoot about clowns one way or the other, but it's a freaky outfit. And it was based on a short film that went viral when they were filming it, that everybody probably knows about. And you can YouTube Gags and you can see this, what happened. So they were just filming around town, and people didn't know that they were filming because they were doing it in this found footage way. And so they started reporting on it, about this clown standing around just looking creepy, and what did it mean, and what was he going to do? And people started getting really, really nervous in Green Bay. They called the cops. The cops were getting phone calls all the time. And they're like, well, there's nothing illegal about standing around like a clown. And they're like, no, but look at these pictures. And then police started to question. Then other people started doing it, copycats. And then police were questioning. They said, well, we're going to be putting out more patrols, and we will have the right to question anyone that's dressed up like a clown for suspicious behavior. Yeah. So it's really kind of funny, the phenomenon that this had. And it's got a lot of fun in it, a lot of comedy, and there are some explosions, and there's some freaky effects and blood and weird. And also it's very much inspired by Batman's Joker, I would say. There's a kind of thing that happens, a transformation of faces into clowns.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, which is pretty gross.
And do you have a date for that coming out yet, or is it still?
It's in production. I've been getting emails and texts from the director and the writers saying that they're putting everything together and they're happy. It's looking good. So
okay.
My guess is later this year. I would imagine, for some festivals, and then it'll be out and available to the public next year, I would imagine. And Imitation Girl is still doing festival circuits. And hopefully that will be out to the public by this Christmas, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. So everybody, make sure you keep an eye on that and keep checking it online. And that just about does it for minute 39 here on Bat Minute 89. So yes, make sure to join us again when we'll be back for minute 40. We're all the way at minute 40 already, somehow. Don't really understand how we got there this fast, but never mind. Make sure to message us online, join our Facebook page, the Bat Minute 89 Listeners Society, or you can tweet us at Bat Minute 89, and check out our Instagram and Tumblr as well. They're the same, Bat Minute 89. So yes, join us again. We'll be back for minute 40 of Batman.
Next time, as his senile servant lets slip on Bruce's snappy subterfuge, will Alicia feel faint at the figure of a fez-fitted farcical fiend? Find out next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.